a little later during the session. So let me just introduce to all of you Mr. Gursharan Bansal. Mr. Gursharan Bansal is Chief Sales and Marketing Officer and Chief General Manager of India Post Payments Bank, one of India's newest and leading payments bank. He joined IPPB in April 2017 and as part of the senior management team has played an important role in setting up of the payments bank. He has nearly 3 decades of varied and multicultural successful stints with leading organizations in banking, financial services and insurance sectors such as UTI AMC, Cholamandalam, MetLife, Way to Wealth Securities, Escorts Finance and Escorts Asset Management and Kotak Mahindra Finance across various geographies in India. With cross-sector domain expertise in payments, commercial cards, insurance, mutual funds, etc., along with well-known strategic and business capabilities, has seen him launching and setting up new businesses. He completed Bachelor of Engineering from Punjab Engineering College, Punjab University, Chandigarh, and MBA from University of Delhi's Faculty of Management Studies. He has had an outstanding academic career, having secured 9th position in matriculation, a NTSE scholarship holder through his academic career, and has been a university topper as well. In his pastime, he likes to read, travel to exotic locations in India and abroad, and loves to play sports, pursue gardening, and likes to sing and play the flute and harmonica. So welcome, sir. And it is indeed a pleasure to have you with us here today. How would you, Rashmi ma'am, would you like to start the session as a moderator, or would Gursharan sir would like to speak and then we can have your views?
I think it's good if I start the session first and keep the ball rolling.
All right, Rashmi ma'am, then give me a minute. I would also like to introduce you. All right. Ms. Rashmi is a postgraduate in human resources from XLRI Jamshedpur with over 20 plus years of experience in HR across multiple industries. She is also a certified master assessment expert, executive coach, change management expert, and a certified business storyteller. She was awarded the Indira HR Super Achiever Award in October 2021 and one of the most influential HR leaders in India by World HRD Congress in 2016. She has worked with major corporate houses like I.T.S, United Breweries, Thapar Group, and international organizations like ICRC, CAF International. She has attended several executive education courses in IIM Ahmedabad and ISB Hyderabad. She is an active member of the CII NR Regional Committee on Skills. She is currently working as Chief Human Resources Officer at the WAVE Group. The WAVE Group, which is a diversified industrial conglomerate with businesses that include real estate, manufacturing, wellness, and education. She is responsible for managing the entire HR function of WAVE. She has also been leading initiatives for automating HR processes, building a digital HR, and creating a work culture of innovation and high performance. And she actively works with the premier universities and institutions and provides students with a diverse industry perspective. So it is indeed a pleasure and a delight to have you, Rashmi ma'am, with us here today on this forum. So with this, I hand over the...
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah. So thank you very much for that wonderful, introduction. It was really nice. And I was just looking at the time. I think we have like 1 hour left. So I'll go a bit fast and I'll skip certain things. But I'd like to mention that, like Mr. Vajpayee, I also took notes of the previous speakers, I've always been a front bencher. So I took those notes, and like the point he said, big change, big chance. Mr. Amit said was really something that I'll have in my diary. Better to get disrupted ourselves than to get, better to get disrupted ourselves than to go into something disrupts us. That was good. Winning back from your failure, that Naresh ji said, is resilience. And bouncing back, Mr. Venkatesh said, and I loved his story. Though I'm a storyteller, I loved his stories about the boy climbing the mountain and all that. That was very nice. So anyway, good morning, dear students. faculty and distinguished panelists. I'm really looking forward to this session, but I really hope there are a lot of takeaways for the students from our panel today. And because, I'm quite confident there will be, because, we've got panelists from different industries, and I'm sure everyone will have different perspectives. Now, the format is that I will have a few questions that I'll put up to all the panelists, the same questions. Why the same questions? Because there'll be different perspectives on each question, and the students and all of us over here will know how it works for different industries, right? So am I still audible? Because I can't hear any noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So there might be two disruptions. I'm in office today. So, there might be a connectivity problem because we are so many of us here. And second, if somebody walks into my room, I might have to hold the mask, wear my mask, because we are very strict, and I issue letters to people wear the mask. So as I issue the letters, I might have to wear the mask. Okay, I hope I don't have to, so I'm keeping it aside. So now the first thing is, so it shows a problem over here. I hope I can be heard. So first I'd like to speak about the theme actually. So I'll take around 5-7 minutes to speak about the topic, and then we'll go with the questions. I hope that's okay with all of you all.
Yes, yes.
I don't know
Please
if I can
continue.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're audible, but
Yeah.
everybody's on mute.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'm normally, we have so many of these virtual meetings. I mean, to have something in your, you unmute himself, so I can hear some noise, but here there's real shanti. I can't hear anyone. So I feel like I'm alone. So it doesn't matter. It's good to experience this. So first on the theme, resilience and reinvention of business in the gig economy. So the speaker spoke a lot about the gig economy. What I would like to say a few words about resilience. And why resilience? Because, the pandemic has placed resilience at the center stage, actually. So, it was like a litmus test. Organizations that were able to absorb and adapt to the challenges of the pandemic, they were defined as resilient. Right? If we deep dive into it, it's actually advancing despite the adversity. And we often hear the word bouncing back, like Mr. Venkatesh said, that, bouncing back. But I'll give you another analogy. Like in metals, they have the capacity to bend. They bend when they are under pressure, but they don't break, And when the pressure is released, they more or less come back to the same, to the original shape. So bouncing back is not the whole story. It's much, much more. Resilience is, it involves a complex set of skills, skills that allow you to survive the overwhelming challenges that we had just now, and we are still having, and to respond flexibly, to bend, but not to break. So the whole process is very dynamic. And if once you become confident, you've got those skills. It's like the learning curve that I've done it once. I've had very agile structures. I think we'll go more into those questions, technical questions, what sort of structures survived. So organizations that had very adaptive and agile structures, they were well versed in, business resilience and business continuity and crisis planning, a lot of emphasis on crisis planning. They were the ones who were able to strive and are competitive even today. And it's the same with all of us as humans, as individuals, if we dig into, the adversity, instead of avoiding the challenges, if we dig into it and look for opportunities, a lot of speakers spoke about those opportunities. And I would also reiterate the same, look for those opportunities, then we build that mental resilience, what you call mental, So what happens most of the time, we have the self-perception that, and we have that cognitive biases there in our mind, we keep looking at the roadblocks, instead of looking at the goal, we look at the roadblocks and we get disheartened. But we should look at the goal only. And then, then it helps you bounce back. And it helps about resilience. I think you've spoken a lot about it. I would go to the main topic right now, that is innovate, integrate, and motivate for sustainable organizations. Now, So the workplace, if you talk about the workplace right now, where we are, the workplace is hybrid, it is work from home. The workplace is still adjusting. We guys are still adjusting to the tremors of the pandemic, because there's one after the other. And they say, it's a saying, proverb, that the worst times brings out the best in people. And it has been the same for organizations. All the organizations are taking some shape or the other. And I'm talking globally, everybody, because there is no prototype. There was nothing we had heard about that there would be a pandemic of this sort. And so whenever we have any problem, we just Google and see what's the reference, how is it done. There was nothing to Google, there was nothing to find out. So organizations each one would bootstrap and try their own. So organizations are still trying to figure out how we should be prepared. And there are certain rules of the game, but that's what we're going to discuss, that how can we build such organization that will strive through this. But they're still taking shape, what I'd like to tell you. And but one thing is clear. What is clear is this period of change that we are going through, whether as people, as for work or for workplace, there actually never has been such a challenging time, and never an opportunity filled time for any individual, company, institution. This is a time we should all capitalize on it, have capitalized. Actually, we have spoken to, you speak to many people, and many people have risen to the occasion. Almost every leader, almost we speak to, has an inspiring, positive, radical story to tell us, how things were and how they changed it, what they did. So one thing is for sure, that the pandemic taught us many lessons. So to sum it up, what are the lessons learned in 3 points? The organizations that responded, they survived, number one, But number two, if you innovated, you had a competitive edge. You innovated as a person, you upgraded yourself, or as an organization, you had a competitive edge. And the good part is the disruption actually ushered in the new. And leading in the new is the formula to success. So actually, gratitude to the pandemic, to the COVID, because so many new things have come up. And it's an irony that actually the whole world had to wait for a pandemic for so many changes to happen. And now we're capitalizing on it, but it's good enough. So actually, as somebody said before, I would agree that the pandemic has become an accelerator for one of the greatest workplace changes, transformations. And what is underlying? People have become the new currency, because people are at the center of it. And I'll explain it to you in few words how. So first of all, work from home and hybrid models are here to stay. Okay. And, you have work from home, you have a hybrid model, and you have whatnot. Then you have ambiguity that is overwhelming. That's a cloud of ambiguity that is in the minds of employees, because, they're scattered all over the place. They don't interact. So what are organizations looking for? What do organizations want? They want people, they want leaders who can display deliberate calm. It's not the same way when you're talking in an office, the body language, and even if you say something to somebody, he can still understand. You don't see the person. So you need deliberate calm. Calmness has to be there, and also bounded optimism. That optimism needs to be underlined somewhere or the other, and create those psychological safe spaces for people, that people know that he's there for me. And most importantly, demonstrate two things: empathy and trust. In fact, trust is actually the foundation. It's the foundation of any relationship leadership framework. Any framework will need trust, because in this whole period, what we saw was the emergence of leaders who embraced humanity as a way of maintaining connection, momentum, focus. Instead of what leaders were doing was strategy, data, and dashboards. So actually, strategy took a back seat, and you had that, human-centric approach to employees. So definitely, the pandemic has taught us a lot of lessons. And one big lesson is the human-centered business is most important. If you want to have a sustainable organization, which is the topic we're talking about, that how do we do it? So there are 3-4 questions that are in the mind of most people, and that is that how do I create that, and it's globally, how do I create that socially responsible and sustainable ecosystem? Yeah. So there are 4 things that I need to do. Everybody knows at least. One is that I need a structure, the organization structure. That was, how do I move away from that hierarchical structure that we had earlier, that we've all read in the MBAs, and how do we move from that multi-layered structure to a flatter structure, to a more intelligent and agile structure where you can turbocharge decision making. Decision making has become so important today, because what we saw during the pandemic also was that when the customer called and he was panicked, and if somebody got in touch with, was picked up the phone and said that, okay, I'll speak to my manager and I'll get back to you, you lost that customer. So how do you empower employees who's closer to the customer? So the organization structure that we're going to is the first question that we will come to. And second, of course, is the technology and skills to make that workplace more agile. Thirdly, is that human-centric approach. And lastly is work sustainability. So work sustainability is that how do I make a learning organization? All this leads to, a sustainable organization. And we must remember one thing, there are no rules to the game so far. And this is a rapid evolution and we need to work that out. So here are the questions. So this is what I wanted to speak about. That was my introduction to the theme and to the topic. Now I would like to place the questions to my panelists. I don't know who all are there right now. I know definitely that Mr. Bansal, Gursharan Bansal is there. So I will put up the first question, the same question to everybody if they're there too. But first to Mr. Bansal. Mr. Bansal, you're there? Yeah. So on the first question on the structure, as I said before, rigid structures, they cannot cope with the current pace of innovation and complexity. That's right. Let alone predict disruption. So agility is crucial, right? And liquid organization, liquid structures, what is a liquid structure? It allows the organization to change its course in a flexible manner. They play a crucial role in enable the organization becoming agile and nimble. Okay. So the best way to meet disruptive challenges is to stay ahead of them, right? So, and leaders must build a strong adaptive organization. Have you, Mr. Bansal, in your organization, or you can give some other example also, that have you built a structure that will enable agile decision making with motivated teams so that the organization can stay competitive no matter whatever challenges or any pandemic comes ahead? That's my question.
Yeah, Rashmi, and first of all, a very warm thanks to, I express my gratitude to the I.T.S team, the moderator and all the fellow panelists and the students for giving me this opportunity to, come here and speak to you. In fact, I've had some earlier sessions also with I.T.S, and that was pre-COVID, I must say. And, with the change and disruption and, things, I mean, today, digital, video conferencing and digital means of having, multiple people joining conferences and even various other activities has become the norm of the day. I would just to put that in perspective, yesterday we conducted promotional interviews for 1,500 people across the country, and all that was digital. So, I mean, just to, these things were kind of unthinkable, earlier. And as, Rashmi has also rightly put across that, we have to be agile, we have to be adaptive, we have to innovate. And, there are several examples. Although, being in a public sector banking organization, it's not that simple, and it's not that easy to to change, to adapt, to go for organization structure changes. So it's a little tough call, because these are the organizational structures which have been set up over the years, and more than 100 years or 150 years old banking industry in India. And we have a set structure, and fortunately for us, it's been working fairly well. And we've gone through the crisis situations, the pandemic situation. In fact, it has worked to our advantage to have a widespread, distribution structure across the country, across each and every district. In fact, with India Post Payments Bank, probably in this budget speech, you may have heard the finance minister in the budget speech speak that, we'll cover 1,55,000 post offices through CBS, right? So this is the change which has been brought in by India Post Payments Bank, which is the structure which has a layer which has been created over the last 3.5 years, and the bank which got launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the idea of financial inclusion and with the idea of a government remotest corners of the country through with banking abilities and banking facilities to the underbanked and the unbanked population of the country. And typically, the big part which the bank has played is in terms of, it was 100% an innovative and integrated and structure which brought in the change. And the biggest, always the biggest underlying condition for all our steps that we took, all the innovation that we made, all the products that we launched, all the services that we introduced was the frugal, innovation. And this basically means that the costs being kept low. The costs to be kept low and the revenues to be optimized. So the idea was to kind of work in the existing more than 150-year-old organization structure of Department of Post, having almost 3.5 lakh to 4 lakh people distributed across various cities, towns, villages of the country, and to overlap that with the new agile, smart, young team of India Post Payments Bank, the bankers who innovated and integrated the entire, existing postal structure with the new age banking, the interoperable services, take the bank to the remotest corners of the country. Now, how did we do it? Typical question was that, if let's say the universal bank, or let's say an Axis Bank or HDFC Bank or a state bank wants to open an account for a villager, sitting in Mizoram or Tripura or Arunachal or corners of Leh or Ladakh, the normal cost of opening a bank account would be around 600 rupees. Now, here was India Post Payments Bank, which opened a bank account at a cost of less than 3 rupees, right? And one of the biggest questions, and that was all done digitally, that was all done with the touch of a finger using the Jan Dhan Aadhaar mobile trinity, and we did it in a matter of less than 3 minutes. Now, the question for us, again, the biggest challenge for us was, whether to give a debit card to the customer, because a debit card would typically mean an interchange cost of 75 rupees a month, which the bank could never, imagine or afford. So how did we overcome this challenge? Now, after some thoughts and this thing, we introduced something called a QR card, which was simply a card or an account identifier, which carried the QR card, which was linked to the person's bank account, and which gave him a physical collateral that this account has been opened, and which was a non-personalized account card, which initially was non-personalized, but it was, once it was linked to the person's account, all the details were put across with a permanent marker pen by the postman and given it to him, right? So the person can actually go transact, and even transact on a merchant, which is a IPPB merchant or India Post Payment Bank merchant. He could transact there without using any other collateral. Now, the second thing, when the people also demanded the QR card, we gave them something called a virtual debit card, which prevented the bank from incurring interchange costs at the ATMs. But we introduced the virtual debit card to enable him to do e-commerce transactions, UPI transactions, and various other transactions, which was a big enabler. Now, these are the things, just a few examples of how we innovated, integrated. Now, in terms of the organizational structure and the changes, We initially we had thought that we will work just like a Paytm bank, because being a payment bank, our margins are very thin. Costs may be high, but margins are thin, and we cannot really afford a wide distribution structure. How did we overcome that? Now, a Paytm bank just works with one branch across the country. Why could we not work with only one branch? But here we thought that, a person, if you look into the psychology of a typical villager, even if I look at the psychology of my father or my mother, who are in that earlier, this thing, who are of the earlier generation. So they do not adapt to technology so easy. So we adopted something called an assisted banking approach. This assisted banking approach only comes when a person does a transaction, shows how the digital transaction is done to a customer, to a villager. Once he learns, once he sees, once he does it himself 2 or 3 times, then he adapts to it. Today we have 5 crore customers. In the last 3.5 years, we have got 5 crore customers, and we've done, and out of that, 1.25 crore customers have adopted mobile banking. So mobile banking application, which gives them, all the banking facilities of remittances, for payments, for bill payments, for, virtual debit card, e-commerce payments, and various other things on the mobile at the tip of their fingers. So we Grameen Dak Sevak, or the postman, across the country, which is more than 2 lakh people, they were trained by our branch staff, which is situated one in every district across the country. They trained these people, and we spend more than a crore man hours of training time for training these people, handholding these people, telling them about products. Today we have introduced, in the pandemic and also, the digital technology, digital adoption is become so widespread now, and it has been spearheaded by India Post Payment Bank. And I'm really proud to say that, today many of the things, started, initiated by our bank, they have been adopted in the industry. And we had actually kind of forced many of the the existing giants in the insurance sector to adopt technology and to issue a life insurance of, say, even something like 20 lakhs, 50 lakhs, 1 crore insurance to be given on the fingertips, digitally, no paper involved. Not even a single paper crosses across the country. And we have, we are getting, life insurance done. We are getting two-wheeler, four-wheeler, personal accidental insurance. We are getting health insurance done to 100% digitally. Our postman or Grameen Dak Sevak, he can actually give, an insurance, in a matter of minutes by, using the digital technology or a micro ATM. So these are some of the changes. And one more change, for example, in the COVID, as we are talking about COVID, we were really in a fix in 2019 when the first COVID wave struck. So we were in a fix कि अब bank कैसे चलेगा? मतलब we were totally, confused कि कैसे करना है, because people contact and all that was not allowed. Although one advantage we had, are among the essential services and the essential government, services which are to be taken to across the country. Post offices and the postman was allowed. The post office mail van was allowed to travel across the country to take medicines, to take various other essential products and goods across the country and supply them in the remotest corners. So we use the postman to deliver money at the doorstep, at the fingertips, through a service called Aadhaar enabled payment service. So a person having an account in any bank in the country, let's say in an HDFC bank or Axis Bank or ICICI or Indian Bank, so these people, with the touch of their fingertips, they were allowed to withdraw money sitting at their home, at their doorstep, by our postman. So we disbursed crores and crores of rupees across the country to the poor and needy in the remotest corners of the country using the AEPS service. So this is something which we actually initiated, adopted, and expanded in a wide manner. Just to keep the bank running. We had a small fee in that which we earned, but using that we kept the bank running, and in fact the bank gained in popularity, expansion, etc. Similarly, for example, Jeevan Praman service. digital life certificate. For a pensioner, for an old person, say 70, 80, 90 years old, it is very difficult for him to go to the bank, stand in queues, and get his Jeevan Praman or a digital life certificate given to the bank. His pension keeps coming, right? So this person in the COVID situation, he was not able to go out of the house, go in a public transport, and give his Jeevan Praman. So we adopted this digital life certificate, Jeevan Praman, at the doorstep, and we gave so many people we enabled, to go do the Jeevan Praman. In lakhs and lakhs, we enabled the digital life certificate at their doorstep through the IPPB services. So this is something which we innovated. We tried to adapt, and we tried to get into technology, and and we are continuously innovating, invigorating. In fact, one of my earlier sessions, once during COVID in Picky, there was this sentence which was said that Winston Churchill once said, during the World War, he said that never waste a good crisis. Never waste a good crisis. So any crisis situation, this thing is a disruption, and we can actually every crisis an opportunity. So and another thing which today we are a right example of that is that today geography is history. Today geography is history. In fact, literally so. So today in this conference, probably a person from the US or from New Zealand or Australia or any corner of the world, not to say of India alone, he can connect anywhere, anytime, and we can be face to face with anybody. So today, this is what the COVID has given us. And we should be thankful to COVID. In fact, we have come closer to our families. We have learned the hybrid and the new model of working from home. Even we've seen across our cities, they have become less congested. We used to, whenever we used to have this, alternate or a roster-based office attendance, we used to find no traffic on the roads. We used to find no traffic. So these are some of the good things. I could actually work more. I could spend more time in the morning walks or, morning time spending. I could have more time to myself, to work on my health. So these are some of the positives also, where we should look at every crisis as an opportunity, as a good thing, and people have realized the importance of life. They have realized the importance of time to yourself, time to, run away from the rat race and, spend time for yourself. A few crores in the bank really does not make a difference, but, you should have the other good things also in life. So it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act which the nature has given us, and in fact, which is something which probably God has made us realize कि भाई आप थोड़ा समय अपने ऊपर भी दीजिए, and don't run after only only one element in life, which is the money. So that is not the only thing, but yes, that is also very, very important, not to lose sight of it. But innovation, integration, and motivation. Of course, I've not spoken about motivation, but yes, of course, that's part of our life as leaders. We have to keep our team's motivation high. And Rashmi said the trust factor, and somewhere they should feel be able to confide in you, trust in you, and you should be able to take care of them in the moments of low or difficult situations in life or in work. So these are some of the things which I would wanted to mention. So thank you very much, and we can continue now, Rashmi.
Yeah, thank you for your inputs. And just to summarize what you said, though the structure of, because being a traditional post office thing, you can't change the structure all of a sudden like we do in organizations.
Exactly.
We keep changing. We are very, but you gave us so much information on the way you all have innovated. I think most of us didn't know it. At least I didn't know it about it. Like you said, that opening of their account in a distant place like Mizoram, like you go to the bank and then you pay that 600 rupees. Here you said you open the account with 3 rupees, and how you got that QR card
At the cost of 3 rupees.
At the cost of 3 rupees.
Yeah.
and the QR card that you mentioned, and the virtual debit card that you mentioned, for e-commerce transactions, and the assisted banking approach that you said, that shows how the transaction. I mean, I don't think the actual private banks are doing anything like this, and so many customers, 5 crore customers, and mobile banking by 1.25. I mean, it's amazing, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that, I did read about that Aadhaar enabled service for money, because, that, remember the first wave when we were totally cut off, and there was no money in the house actually, because, at night the lockdown was announced and there was no money in the house. And, everybody needed cash, and we dare not go to the ATM because, that COVID was like, we didn't even know how to protect ourselves. And, I would, my mom and I, we stay in a place where the migrant workers were walking. And my mom would say, give them money, give them money. So I don't have money in the house, so we could not. So all we could do for them was like, give them water. We could give, even we didn't have enough, essentials. In those days, even Amazon and all would take 1 week to deliver, and now, of course, everything is so fast. So thanks a lot. I mean, I think you threw a lot of light. See, the structure is required to change only because of agility and for innovation. Structure is required to change for innovation, but you've already done the innovation, and you've explained it so well, and, you've